Hello everyone, welcome to the Chen analysis video. So this will be the first time that I'm doing any kind of operator analysis, and I hope this will help. And sorry in advance my broken English because it's not my primary language. So let's get started. So Chen is an operator that I've raised for quite a long time. Right, as you can see, I've at mastery tree for both skill 2 and skill 3 and use her a lot in all kind of cases. So I would put a TLDR here first. She's a good operator and definitely recommended to raise, but not in early game or when you are trying to build a proper team. She won't be suitable since she requires a lot of investment to be good. This is due to her natural talent and natural threat here. Her normal attacks are 2 hits, which causes her best ATK to be pretty low. So any single point of ATK is very important for her. And at E290, her best ATK is 660 with max trust. And here I don't include the potential ones, which is additional 23 ATK. And on top of the 660, there's a 5% from the talent 2, which gives it another extra 5%. And as you can see here, in this spreadsheet that I've made, so when you compare her stats with other 6-star guides like Silver Ash and Skadi, her HP isn't that bad. It's even higher than Silver Ash, and her defense is just below Silver Ash, which is pretty good. But I know, when people look at the stats, her ATK is pretty worrisome, but it's actually not a big problem. Okay, let's take a look at the auto attacks. So here are the list of some common enemies that you will see in normal maps. And you can see here, all these enemies. Not many of them are above 400 defense. And why I specifically talk about 400 defense? So from calculation here, this is for per auto attack set, which is not very accurate, but let's move to DPS. So as you can see, at enemy 0 defense, she actually has the highest DPS amongst all the 6-star guards, even higher than Skadi. Though remember, this assuming it's just auto attack and there's no skill involved. So look at this. She has the highest DPS all the way until 300 defense. Is that impressive? Because many people would think that, wow, she has such a low best ATK, so she would do no damage to high armor units. So it's not true at all. At 350, she only loses to Skadi by 9 DPS. And Silver Ash is already pretty weak at this point. And she only loses to Silver Ash at 550 defense, at which this point, all these enemies with 550 defense and above, I guess they are already programmed for physical guards already, so you wouldn't normally use physical guards for them. So Chen S2 and Skadi S2 and Silver Ash S3, they can normally deal with this kind of enemies since Chen S2 has magical damage. Skadi S2 pushes to 3000 something ridiculous amount of ADK. Silver Ash S3 too can put it to 2.3k or 2.4k or something, which is very impressive. But here we talk about Chen. And here, you would like to, if you want to know about how the DPS are calculated, I use this formula. And here with the example, I'll put this doc in the description below so you can read it later on. Okay, let's get into the skill part. For skill, her skill 2, here, it's actually the best skill that she has got. I'll talk about skill 1 later. Skill 2 and skill 3 first. Skill 2 at M3 deals 500 physical damage and 500% magical damage up to 7 enemies. Okay, so let's look at theoretical values. This would be the formula that you can use to calculate the damage that she can do, and assume this is E2 level 90 and max trust. And from here you can see she can one-shot all enemies up to here. All the enemies up to here, which is a lot of them, which is most of the enemies that you could normally encounter. And this though, you might need some other helps from other operators. And if you encounter this kind of defense, if you encounter an enemy with this kind of defense, you probably wouldn't use her anyway, but you can use her still, since her magical attack, her magical portion of a skill 2 is still very useful against this enemy. You can at least cut half of their HP away or something. But if it's actually a huge crowd or huge wave, then you would probably want to use either Ayafala's skill tree, which is Volcano, or Silver Edge skill tree, which is long. This is a more long duration wave clear skill, and it's very good. And on to the next. We'll talk about skill tree, which is Shadow Assault. This skill, I would say it's more for show and more meme, because it's not really something that would practically that can be used practically. Okay, so just look at it. The skill deals 10 consecutive hits and 320% physical damage every attack, and stun enemy for 4 seconds on last hit. So what I didn't mention here is skill 2 actually at M3 has 20/20 initial SP, which means she can cast on deployment. She can cast an S2 on deployment, which is very good, while S3 only has 20/30 initial SP. Oops, let me unblock that. Okay. Which means she needs to attack a field before she can start to use her skill. So just when you compare both of this, skill 2 is what you would normally use to deal with any kind of mobs, and to normally deal with mobs. Like most of the time you use skill 2 to clear a huge wave, but if it's skill 3, normally you're looking to kill a certain boss or a certain mob with low defense but high HP. Since, for example, I use Saka's caster leader here, which has 18,000 HP, 200 defense, and 50 magic resistance, which means my skill can do 20k damage, and it can immediately assassinate the caster. Meanwhile, with skill 2, I can do a lot of damage anyway. 3, 4, 6, 5 minus defense and something blah 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 to 7 enemies at once. Expected damage is around 5,000 damage per enemy, but it depends on the defense and HP anyway. So times that by 7, it would be 3.5k something, but that's like the perfect scenario, which normally don't happen. Most of the time use it against 3-4 enemies anyway, but it's already good enough for a mob clear, since it's only 20/20 since it only takes 20 SP to cast, which fills out pretty fast by the way, because her on talent also affects herself. Okay, now let's talk about her talent. Break talent is actually extremely good skill. I'm sorry I didn't include blast picture. It's actually incredibly good talent, and as I've written here, it can decrease the CD of these skills, all of this, or 6 of this, by 30 to 50%, which is huge. But for this character here, they still benefits from the break talent, but it's not as good. I mean, it's good, it's not as big as this ones. Okay, so here I will take an example for auto cast skills like Lapland skill 1, both skill 1 and skill 2. So if she has 16 SP and there's no enemy in front of her, there's nothing to hit, and then break skill for 1 more SP, which is 17 SP, which is what she needs to cast S2 at M3. Then she will start casting it, and the whole skill duration will be wasted. So sometimes it might not be that good of a combo for Lapland and Chen. Meanwhile, for all this, you will use Chen with them, it's just exceptional damage increase. especially for Warframe, Blue Poison X, and Meteorite. Sure this. It's more commonly that you would use their skill 1. So, for instance, Blue Poison, all of us know that Blue Poison skill 1, M3 is exceptional damage increase compared to even M2. It's like 50% damage increase or something. But if you have Chen, just put her on the field, she actually can make her CD become M3 while only having SL7. It's extremely good. There's more you can read about this in the document, which I will post in the description below. So yeah, check it out. Okay, for the last part, against bosses. So she can kill a lot of bosses with just one buff. Everything from here until here, she can kill them. Except for Force Nova, I guess. The challenge mode 410 Force Nova. Okay, let me try to do a calculation here. So, how you do a calculation is, so from here I already calculated it. With Warframe's S2 buff, which is 80%. Let's see. What does Force Nova has? 350 times 10. How much is that? 35570. Yep. She can kill them. Sorry, I'm coughing. So, all the bosses from here until here. She can kill all of this with just one buff. And without buff, she can only kill this one, though. But there are still some bosses before this, like in chapter 2 or something. She can kill all of them. Alright, so now let's talk about the practical usages of this skill. So what the problem would be is she has to constantly stay in the front line to actually get SP to cast her skills. As she is like, if you don't know this, she is the on attack SP regen character, which is why her talent is like for both on attack and when attack SP to all allies, and which all of these here I mentioned are. Okay, so this is one of the way they can use Chen's skill too. For this kind of map like Hat 6-4 that I'm demonstrating here, this map has high early pressure, which covers 2 lanes. So you can use Chen to clear out both lanes at once with a skill 2. Look at here. And since it will be continuous high pressure, look at this. 4 enemies are coming on 2 lanes. So here, by now you should already have enough cost to deploy another operator. And here I will combo Chen with Silver Edge, which also has wave clear ability. Chen will use her skill 2 second time, which will buy enough time for Silver Edge to cast a skill tree. Yeah, his skill tree. And at this point, there will be another wave, so I will use her skill 2 again to clear the wave. It's pretty satisfying to see. Alright, this is one of the ways you can use Chen for opening. And the next way you can use Chen is to deal with drones. For example here. These 2 drones, you have to remember that Chen's skill 2 can actually hit A units. For example, look at this. I used her to deal with the 2 bomb drones. Alright, this is the second way you can use her. Now the third way. Since her skills 2 and mastery 3 can be cast instantly when deployed. So for example in this video, I can use Chen to deal with huge wave to prevent leak. Then here. Right here I deployed Saria and she died. So there's no one to block and there's really not much strength for me to clear anything back there, so I would use Chen to clear out the mobs. Like what just happened here. She can clear out 7 mobs at once at M3, which is very impressive. So beware of her long redeployment time if you are using her this way. Okay, so that's some of the ways that you can use her skill 2. For a skill tree, it has 2 special properties. The first property being she is invulnerable while in the skill tree animation. The second property is she is not blocking anything during it. So, for instance, here's how we can use the iframe. Sorry. Here. Here are two sagas caster here which use Chen to paralyze the operator. So this is a bit extreme and hard to time, but you can actually, when you just start to Chen, you can use her skill tree and actually avoid the Chen. You're still casting it, but Chen is still using her skill tree. No, the animation is still going. So she could kill the Sakas caster at top, while the bottom one is still chanting her. Alright, so for the next one. For this part, this map has a bunch of spider here. You can use her skill tree to kill all of this without taking any damage, since she is invulnerable during her animation, as you can see here. Alright, and for the last. Here is the hammer dude. These dudes, on their third hit, they stun you and do a huge amount of damage. So what you can do is, when the third hit is about to hit, you cast skill tree, and you will avoid the damage and also mitigate some of the stun duration. Though remember, she will still be stunned after her animation ends, but the stun duration already starts to calculate the moment it is hit. So the animation is usually 3 to 4 seconds, so if the stun is 5 seconds, it will take out 3 to 4 seconds, leaving like 1 to 2 seconds left when she's done with the animation. In here, she dodged it, and she is also stunned afterwards. So for this section, I'm gonna do a little comparison between skill 2 and skill 3 against enemy with high defense, and also what I mean when I said her skill 2 and skill 3 both scale very well with 80% buff, for example from Warframe or from Ark. So we're testing it against this enemy, which has 10k health and also 1k defense, but it has 0 magic resistance. This enemy is in C5, which is pretty easy to test, so let's get to it. So the first clip will be skill 3 without any buff. He only could kill one of it, as you can see here. Kill one of it and do a little damage to the other one. So it's not really very good, as we know anyways, obviously. So how about with Warframe buff? As you can see, it killed 2 of it, and the third one only has half HP left. It's a huge increase in DPS. Without it, it could only do the damage enough to kill one of it, and also do one hit of 1000 damage to the other one. But with 80% ATK boost from Warframe, this skill could kill 2 of them and take half HP away from the third one. So how about skill 2? It's pretty obvious it's gonna be better, right? So it is without any buff. Takes away half HP of every single one of them. How about if I put Warframe buff? It straight up one-shot all 3 of them. So in this case, it's obvious that skill 2 is way better. And this is true for most of the time, since you often meet high armor enemy in normal maps, and they are some of the more notable enemies, I guess. But if you just use her for air bomb or something, skill 2 is better. And if you're blocking door, as what I'll be showing in the next clip, skill 3 will be better. Okay, let's see what I mean. So for door blocking, her skill 3 will be better than skill 2. I'll be just doing one demonstration here. I'll be using this exact same setup to test skill 2 in the same map. This is LS5, by the way, if you don't know. Put Chen here. And then I'll let Esteesy. No. Okay. A bit more. I can put blaze here. There's our silver ash. Okay, now we just wait for the armored dude at the end. For in this case, we're using her to block the door. So just wait and see. Or we use silver ash skill tree to clear left side. So just for fairer DPS comparison, I'll remove blue poison soon. Okay. I need better heal. Okay. Here. I have HP, and this has full HP. I'm using a skill tree without any buff. Is it better? Is it better? You'll see it in the comparison video. I'm gonna have to wait for skill 2, which takes like 30 SP per cast to use it again. This should kill it. Sure, it's done. So it takes 2 casts of skill 3, which is like 60 SP. But the initial is already 30 HP, so I actually only waited for 30 SP for the second cast. Okay, so this time, same enemy. I'll remove full poison for better comparison. Alright, sure. She cannot even deal with one of them with a skill 2. I'm sorry, it's gonna die. So in this case, a skill 3 would be better. But in most of the time, skill 2 is just outright better. In here you can still just wait for a bit and then just use skill 2 multiple time to clear it up. See? Bam. That took her on 3 casts. Alright. So that will be end of my analysis video. I hope you like it. I know my voice is kinda trash and this video is extremely long. Many of you might just skip right to the end. So conclusion here, same as what I've just said in the beginning of this video. Chen is a good operator and I recommend you to raise her. But if you want to raise her, you have to invest a lot into her. Like if you leave her at like E2 level 1 and SL7, she's not gonna do well. If you want her to be extremely good and do very well, you need E2 40 to E2 60. I mean E2 level 40 to E2 level 60, and you want M3 on the skill 2. Then she would perform very well. But for this kind of operator, I think she's just icing on the top. For example, if you have Silver Ash, the skill tree is much better, as in it's not like they have the same function, but his skill tree has longer duration and can deal with more situations. Like in early game, if you have him and even just SL7 and like E2 level 1 or something, he can pretty much clear all the content for you. And if you master the tree, the skill tree, and put his level up to, it's just pretty OP. I'm not gonna lie, it's just OP. And also for operator like Esteesy, his H3 also like deal with all kind of low armor enemies. It's just pretty OP too. So I wouldn't say Chen is worth investing if you compare her to these two operators. And just one of the example though. Chen, very good, but not for early game players. Well, that's for the video. Thank you.